Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out this video. And it's hard to believe that the first post-launch patch is already upon us here in the War Within, which is patch 11.05, otherwise known as the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft patch, but for us Marksman and Beast Mastery players, it's going to be known as the Dark Ranger rework patch. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys all of the information you need to get the most out of your Marksman Hunter here for the second half of the first season of the War Within. I'm going to have builds, rotations, openers, items to aim for, embellishment information, so much more for both single target and for AoE, and then also for Dark Ranger versus Sentinel. Since Dark Ranger is currently really buggy right now, there's a laundry list of bugs out there, but once they do get fixed, the damage is really there, and I have been testing it in Raid this last week, and seeing some really great results off, at least for single target. So I will put all of that build information down in the description of the video, and then I will let you guys know I do have a giveaway going on right now, or at least once I get to 10,000 subscribers. So I'm approximately at 9,000 as of me recording this guide, but if I get to 10,000, I will be giving away 60 days of WoW game time, and then a bunch of the Trolley US only battle pets. So if you guys are EU players, for example, this might be the only way for you to get that. I'll have about at least 5 of those to be giving away. To enter, you do have to subscribe to me here on YouTube, follow me over at Twitch at twitch.tv/Mr. Eggplant, and then leave me a comment down below and let me know what your favorite WoW memory is up to this point. But I've already talked too much. Let's go ahead and jump into the guide with the first section, which is going to be talking about all the things that have changed here in 11.05.
Mr. Eggplant presents.
And before I go any further, I did want to mention that I cannot update this video once it does go live, so any changes and any updates will be found in the description as well as the pinned comment, and there will be timestamps down there if you're looking for a certain section. And if you guys have questions about some of the content in the video, be sure and check those two sections first. So let's go ahead and jump into the guide. So to start off, what's changed here in 11.05 on our Marksman Hunter? And I will put a link to the patch notes down in the description of the video if you guys would like to check it out in long form. These are just going to be the main points or the highlights I wanted to share with you guys. There are other changes. So Steady Shot now once again generates 10 focus baseline. Blizzard has heard me complain about this, and you guys for that matter, for 3 expansions now, and it's finally back in the game where Steady Shot does its job of generating 10 focus each time you use it, and they added to improve Steady Shot as well, which is a choice node now, and it generates 20 focus if you have the talent picked. But that is going to be a choice node with the next item here, which is Pincushion. And then what Pincushion does is it lowers the remaining cooldown of aim shot or the next aim shot charge by 2 seconds for each steady shot cast. So you're going to get in the habit of casting more steady shots because it's going to give you focus again without having to waste a point there. It's going to lower the remaining cooldown of aim shot, and also you're going to get another reason to hit it here in just a second, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Death Blow is now available to all 3 hunter specs. It's now moved over to the general tree instead of being over in the marksman only side, even though all 3 specs had some sort of death blow ability. And then baseline, it's going to give you a 10% chance to get death blow when you cast an aim shot, and death blow just means you can use your kill shot on any target regardless of health, but marksmen specifically get improved death blow over in our side of the tree, which gives aim shot 15% chance, rapid fire a 25% chance to give you death blow, and then of course it increases that death blow crit damage by 25%. And then I just mentioned that Steady Shot was going to be better to hit because Steady Focus got a change as well. It means you only have to cast it once to give yourself an 8% haste steroid for 15 seconds, down from 2 back-to-back casts, which is a huge quality of life change. I'm already seeing like 70 to 85% uptime on my Steady Focus, and I would expect to get even more of it in Mythic Plus. And then also Precise Shot procs were changed, so now it's a single proc. So casting your aim shot awards only 1 precise shot, but now it does 100% increased damage, so that's either your Chimera, multi-shot, or Arcane Shot, up from 70% damage. So you're going to spend less time casting these Precise Shot procs, and thanks to Pincushion, cast more aim shots, which will help you drive your damage even further up. And then Eagle Talon's True Focus has been removed removed. They don't know what to do with it, and they finally got rid of it entirely and baked most of it into our base True Shot, minus the plus 3-second extension, which I actually have been feeling quite a bit in Raid this last week. And then finally, the main bread and butter change was going to be to Dark Ranger. So a bunch of the Dark Ranger abilities did get changed, and some of those are here on the screen. So Bleak Arrows, it now causes our auto shot to do shadow damage instead of doing physical damage, and that therefore bypasses armor. And every auto shot has an 8% chance to trigger Death Blow. You will get a ton of Death Blow procs while playing Dark Ranger. That's kind of its thing. Black Arrow now replaces your kill shot and has an 80-20 zone, meaning you can cast it while the target's above 80% health and below 20% health. So basically think of it as kill shot plus a shadow dot afterwards, and any damage increases for kill shot apply to Black Arrow. And then finally, Withering Fire, which is currently broken and one of the main reasons that you're not going to be playing Dark Ranger, at least initially. Withering Fire now fires Death Blow procs automatically during True Shot and hits up to 2 other targets for 50% value, so it can hit up to 3 enemies at a time with your Death Blow procs. It takes it off of the GCD and automatically sends it, which is really great, and that was one of the biggest gripes from the alpha and beta, but currently it is still busted where it doesn't always fire, and there's just a bunch of issues that they still need to work through, and I will be sure and post an update video when that does happen. Some of the additional abilities that I want to shout out real quick that will not appear on the screen are going to be AOE damage boosters, because that was something the Dark Ranger needed, with Bleak Powder and also Shadow Surge. And speaking of changes, we have one other change to note, which is to your tier set bonus. It's basically just to reflect the changes to precise shots. So if you guys are unfamiliar, your 2 set increases the damage of your arcane shot and multi-shot by 20%, and your 4 set just increases the damage of your next aim shot when you use a precise shot proc. And that could be a chimera shot, it could be a multi-shot, or it could be an arcane shot, whatever you use next. So you're going to use the 4 set in all situations, including AoE in your True Shot window, because after your volley falls off, you're going to have to use multi-shot, which will be precise shot procced, to get trick shots to be able to cleave. The only time you don't use the 4 set is during True Shot while you're in a single target encounter, because it's just you're better off to cast literally anything else. Still go ahead and use an arcane shot if you have nothing else left to cast, but you'll very rarely see me use those during the True Shot window. So before we dive into the talent side of our builds for single target and AoE, and then also for Dark Ranger and Sentinel, let's go ahead and take a look at the stat priorities between the 2 hero talents. It should be popping up at the top of the screen right now. So let's start off with Sentinel. So for Sentinel, you want to do weapon DPS, then crit strike, then your main stat, which is going to be agility, and then mastery, followed up by versatility, and then finally haste. I like to have like a haste soft cap. It's not like a plateau or anything like that, but it's about 5,200 haste, or 8%. That's not counting steady focus. That's just really good for me and my playstyle, but you guys can pick whatever haste amount you want. And then of course, as you're moving up in key levels, having more versatility might be better than mastery. It's a little bit of a damage loss, but it'll keep you alive a little bit longer. And then looking at Dark Ranger. So Dark Ranger is where you're going to see some significant change. So it's going to go weapon DPS still, then crit strike, then your main stat, which is going to be agility, and then mastery and haste are right neck and neck. In fact, I'd probably put haste above mastery. You want to try to get those as close as possible, and then dump whatever you have left into versatility. The reason that haste is so important on a Dark Ranger versus a Sentinel Marksman Hunter is because your auto shots have a chance to give you death blow procs. So you want to have more auto shots. The only way to do that is to have more haste. So now that we're already done talking about the stat priorities, let's go ahead and take a look at our first build, which is going to be a Sentinel single target build. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of me here really really fast. So this is what a Sentinel build will look like for single target. So it's going to be a pretty standard general side of the tree. In fact, I'm probably not going to change any of the general side as long as you hit the main points, which is going to be Death Blow, picking up your damaging abilities in Specialized Arsenal, Explosive Shot, Blackrock Munitions, and then down here with Serrated Tips, your Unnatural Causes, and then Trigger Finger. Those are all the damaging abilities. Everything else, as long as you can get to the bottom and there's a bunch of utility over here, that's going to be a-okay. So I'm not going to change anything over there, even though some abilities may be completely useless in a single target scenario. And then on this side of the tree, on the marksmanship side of the tree, I was actually doing a hybrid build earlier from Raid. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those points here. I'm going to put that point in Crack Shot, and then I have those 2 points left to spend. So I'm going to put that point in Tactical Reload and Hydra's Bite. In this build, if like you just saw, if you are looking for a hybrid cleave build, meaning you put points in Trick Shots, Multi-Shot, and then Volley, the points I would suggest moving would be Crack Shot, Hydra's Bite, and then probably Tactical Reload. You could move some of these others down here, but you don't get as much single target firepower, bang for your buck, if you will. But this will be a pure single target build, and it will be found down in the description of the video with all of the other talent builds. So this here is going to be for Sentinel, and then you're going to want to pick Sentinel Watch right now because fights in Raid are going so fast, and really in Mythic Plus as well, so you get more true shots out during an encounter or during a Mythic Plus dungeon. And then for single target, you're going to pick Crescent Steel. If you are in AoE or there's going to be some cleave opportunity, for example, with like a hybrid build, then you would want to pick Overwatch. Otherwise, Crescent Steel is the way to go. So what you see on the screen right now is a really good single target build for Sentinel. And now let's go ahead and take a look at an AoE build for Sentinel. So I'm going to go ahead and move these points over here. Going to put those in Multi-Shot, Trick Shots, and Bullet Storm. And then I'm going to move my points from Readiness and Legacy of the Windrunners and put them over here into Salvo, Small Game Hunter, and the like. And then I have one more point that I need to move, so it's going to take that point out of Crack Shot and then put that into Volley. And then I would change my Overwatch, or my Crescent Steel, to Overwatch. What you see here on the screen is a really great AoE Mythic Plus build for Sentinel. I understand that not everybody wants to play Sentinel, and it can be frustrating at times if you have, quote, bad Lunar Storm dropping, or your tank moves out of there. But if you're in a coordinated group and you kind of delay just a little bit to let your tank kind of plant themselves, then you're going to be in a really great position to do a ton of damage. And then I kind of have glossed over it, but I'm putting Steady Focus and Pincushion in all of my builds. They are such a good 1-2 combo. And one other flex pick might be to pick up light ammo. There's a couple of dungeons, I think probably 3 or 4 dungeons that come to mind that you might want to use light ammo. If that's the case, move your point from Hydra's Bite. That way you get the most out of your build. Alright, so those are the 2 Sentinel builds, and they also have those cleave options as well. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Dark Ranger. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this really fast, and then we'll pick some points. So for Dark Ranger, we have all those different changes. One of these abilities I wanted to point out, Soul Drinker, in its current iteration is basically worthless. Don't ever pick it. Always pick Shadow Hounds. And these options here in the middle, I didn't really go into detail on the Sentinel side. They're not the end of the world. One ability that is, though, for Dark Ranger is Smokescreen. It's one of the strongest defensive abilities. Basically, whenever you use Exhilaration, you get a little bit of Survival of the Fittest and vice versa. And then here, Phantom Pain is going to be for AoE, and then Ebon Bowstring is going to be for single target, but I've actually been using Ebon Bowstring in AoE as well, and still getting some good value out of there. Everything else is just you pick it, so there's not too many choice nodes. And then for a single target build, we are going to go ahead and move these points just like we did with Sentinel. They don't change too much. That's the nice thing about all this. You get into the same play style. So this here, let me remove that and put that up here in crack shots. This here is a great single target Dark Ranger build. Now we're still having some bugs with Dark Ranger, a myriad of problems, which again, I will post a video once those do get remedied and fixed, but this here is a really strong single target build for Dark Ranger. And then now let's go ahead and take a look at an AOE Dark Ranger build. So I have been messing around with a pure single target Cleave build, kind of like an homage to the hybrid builds that we're using in Raid. It gives you a ton of damage and a ton of single target damage, but it does falter a little bit in AoE. And plus, we're still having the issues with Dark Ranger, so until that gets fixed, I would say go ahead, if you do want to play Dark Ranger, go ahead and build the pretty standard build, meaning you're going to put your points back here in Trick Shots, Bullet Storm, and Multi-Shot, and then put points down into Salvo. Now, I will put my single target Cleave build down there as well. It's very potent. It does some really great boss damage, but Mythic Plus is mostly going to be AoE. So I will put all three builds for Dark Ranger down in the description of the video. And now we've come to the point in the video where we're talking about our opener, which is very important on your Marksman Hunter. So we'll look at single target first, and then we'll look at the single target rotation priority, then we'll look at AoE. We'll start off with Sentinel, and then I'll give you an example for Dark Ranger. I think you'll be surprised, even with its current bug status, it does quite a bit of burst damage. So I am a 623 Marksman Hunter for full transparency, and the build that I'm using is going to be the exact same build that I just showed just a few minutes ago. And the opener should be showing up on the top side of the screen right now, but you're going to be precasting your aim shot with about 2 to 2.5 seconds left on your pull timer, just depending on your haste. Then you're going to use your rapid fire, then explosive shot, and then your true shot macro, and then follow it up with a wailing arrow, a rapid fire, aim shot, and so on and so forth. After that, you basically want to use like one of three things: aim shot, rapid fire, or if you get those kill shot procs. I try to bounce back between aim shot and rapid fire as much as possible, but if you are using the Mad Queen's Mandate like I am, you want to try to cast it when you have the most crit possible. Cast it at the very end of all of your true shots and watch the damage skyrocket. So let's go ahead and show you this opener. Alright, so we got about to 2 million there. My Mad Queen's Mandate did crit, and it was doing 20% more damage because I casted it during my true shot. So it's very important, and if you can get a Mad Queen's Mandate while you have bullseye stacks up at the end of a boss's health and have your true shot up, the best I've seen so far without a damage multiplier on a boss is 17.2 million damage. Absolutely crazy. And now we're going to switch gears to Dark Ranger for our single target opener. It's pretty much the same as Sentinel, except you're going to add your black arrow in there in between your precasted aim shot and your rapid fire. It's going to be the exact same build as you guys just saw, except for the Dark Ranger traits in the middle. And then I am still a 623 Marksman Hunter. So let's go ahead and see how this works. And then I am going to be casting that Mad Queen's Mandate at the very end of my true shot. All right, so I did see that one of the black arrows shot over there for whatever reason, so that did skew my damage just a little bit. So I wanted to make sure and point that out. I did roughly 2 million, so I would have done a little, like, what, 8% less than that. So I'm probably right at like 1.9 or maybe 1.85 million without that random bit of damage over there on the dummy. But that was also without my Mad Queen's Mandate critting. So I could have done significantly more had that have crit. So let's go ahead and check out the next section of the video, which is going to be the single target priority. And speaking of the single target rotation priority, it hasn't changed too much in 11.05. The main change is going to come to Steady Shot because of the changes to Steady Focus. So thanks to Steady Focus changing to only casting Steady Shot one time to get that 8% haste buff, you want to have it up almost constantly. I don't have it up for my openers currently, but I'm trying to have it up for the rest of the encounter as much as possible. My goal is at least 75% uptime. So use your Steady Shot so you can get your Steady Focus 8% haste buff up. Then use Kill Shot on cooldown, and that's if you're playing Sentinel, because Black Arrow takes the place of Kill Shot if you're playing a Dark Ranger. I will use all of my Kill Shot procs, except during the True Shot window. I will use it third. So if I have any sort of aim shot or any sort of rapid fire, I'll use those before I use those Kill Shot procs. Otherwise, I use them on CD as much as possible. If you're a Dark Ranger Marksman Hunter, use Black Arrow very, very liberally. Get it off cooldown because you're going to get a ton of death blow procs throughout an encounter. Rapid fire on cooldown, and you can delay that if you're a Sentinel Hunter to get good positioning for your Lunar Storm, which is where a ton of your damage is. It happens every 15 seconds. Using True Shot on cooldown is important, but you also can delay it a little bit if you're trying to line it up with Burst Vase, like for example on the Silken Court, or Bullseye stacks. Getting those full Bullseye stacks can really change your DPS for an entire encounter with a really well-timed Bullseye stack setup and True Shot. Wailing Arrow, use that on cooldown, and remember that it does reset the cooldown of rapid fire and give you 2 charges of aim shot. From there, use your aim shot. Don't let it cap out on charges as much as possible. Pincushion is going to make that a little bit harder because you're not going to be used to the lower cooldown. Using explosive shot on cooldown, and then finally use your precise shot procs. Every time you use an aim shot, you're going to get 1 charge of precise shot, and you'll be using those on arcane shot in single target. And then finally, just for focus regeneration needs, go ahead and use your Steady Shot. And now on to AOE. It's going to be a Mythic Plus opener, and this is where we're going to really shine because we do way more damage in AOE, particularly Burst AOE, than we do in single target. So I'm going to be playing a Sentinel Marksman Hunter for this recording, and then this is the same build that we talked about just a few minutes ago. I am a 621 Marksman Hunter. So the AOE opener should be showing up on the top side of the screen here, and it's just going to be using Explosive Shot, then your Volley Salvo macro, and then use your True Shot, then Rapid Fire, aim shot, and then multi-shot, aim shot, multi-shot, rapid fire, multi-shot, aim shot, whatever it is. The reason we can get away with casting those 3 abilities back to back to back is that we'll be in volley, which gives us 6 seconds of True Shot. So let's go ahead and see what kind of damage we can do. I've been seeing some really crazy pulls in AOE in Mythic Plus these last couple of weeks, so let's see what we can do here. Alrighty, so we got a pretty respectable like 4.6 million, I think, DPS, and that is a 5-target cleave, so if you could hit 8 targets with light ammo, you'd go even higher still. But that's a pretty standard big AOE pull in a Mythic Plus, for example. And then let's go ahead and look at the AOE rotation priority for this build. And now to the AOE rotation priority, and it's a little bit simpler than the single target. So first and foremost, if you are ever going to cast an aim shot or a rapid fire, make sure you have trick shots, whether that be from volley or from using multi-shot. That is a must to do damage on a marksman hunter in AOE. So steady shot is now again #1 because it's super easy to get that free 8% haste buff thanks to the steady focus update in 11.05, and my goal once again is 75% or higher uptime on that. Using explosive shot on cooldown, but you can delay that to hit more targets. It is uncapped. I believe it can hit up to 8 targets for full value, and then it's lesser after that. Then volley and salvo, use that on cooldown, but if you can delay it just a little bit to have it up for true shot, I wouldn't say more than maybe 5 seconds or so though. And then the salvo portion of that is the same for explosive shot, where you want to try to hit as many enemies as possible with it. Use rapid fire on cooldown, and like I said, always have your trick shots up for that. Using true shot as much as possible, because we can actually get so many more true shots out thanks to calling the shots. And then if you're playing a Sentinel marksman hunter, thanks to the other ability in your tree, which is going to be Sentinel Watch, you can continue to whittle the cooldown of that ability even further. And then you can delay it a little bit if you're going to get bullseye crit stacks up, but in AoE that's not as big of a deal. Don't let your aim shots cap on charges, and always have those trick shots up as much as possible for those. And then finally, multi-shot as needed to drop your precise shot proc damage, or to get your trick shots buff. And then use kill shot on cooldown. It's near the bottom if you're a Sentinel marksman hunter. If you are a Dark Ranger marksman hunter, it's a little bit higher up on the list, because that does get replaced with your black arrow. And then finally, steady shot as needed for focus regeneration. And now we're getting to the point of the video where things aren't changing too much, so we'll go kind of rapid fire. For consumables and enchants, starting off with your Algari Diamond, you want to pick up a Culminating Blasphemite. For gems, you want to do mostly Masterful Ruby, but you do want to pick up one each of the Deadly Onyx, the Deadly Sapphire, and Deadly Emerald to get the most out of your Culminating Blasphemite. Those are all going to be the other secondary stats plus crit, and the Masterful Rubies are crit plus mastery. For your food buff, Belladar's Bounty is always my go-to. It gives you the most amount of your main secondary stat, which will be crit for us. For your oil, you'll pick up the Algari Mana Oil. For flask, you'll pick up a Flask of Alchemical Chaos. For your combat potion, your Tempered Potion. And for health potions, I know you would never guess, you pick your Algari Health Potion. And then looking at your enchantments for your weapon, pick up Authority of Radiant Power. Even though it is expensive, it still does a decent amount of damage and give you some of your main stat. For your chest piece, pick up Crystalline Radiance. For cloak, Chant of Winged Grace. For your legs, the Stormbound Armor Kit. For boots, Scout's March. For bracers, Chant of Armored Leech. And then finally for your rings, pick up Radiant Critical Strike, even if you're going to hit diminished returns. Crit is that good for us here in the War Within. I've already talked about items to aim for and embellishments in a previous video, but I'll go ahead and talk about it really fast here. So POW is going to be the highest item of a weapon possible if you are just a heroic raider, because you will eventually get enough Gilded Crest to upgrade it to 636, and you won't have an access to a 639 weapon. If you do make the POW gun, go ahead and put Dark Moon Sigil Vivacity on it if you are doing AoE, or you're wanting to do Mythic Plus, for example. Or if you're wanting to jump into Raid, you can pick up Dark Moon Sigil Ascendancy. And then the tier set is very important. It's not as important as for marksman as it is for some classes. It has about 2.5% increased damage for you. Skardan's Grace is an all-around amazing 2-minute on-use mastery trinket. It's much better in Sentinel builds, so you'll see it in my Mythic Plus runs, for example, even at 593. And then your other embellishments, if you don't make the POW gun, you want to make 2 Dawn Thread Lining. And put that on either your belt, boots, or wrists. I've already got it on my wrists, and I've actually made it on gloves because I had a lower item level glove. I will most likely move that over to my boots here in the near future. Because, in looking at some of this other gear, the Wings of Shattered Sorrow is a cloak from Roshanon. Absolutely amazing. It can really save your butt, and having a bunch of those on your Mythic Plus team could be the difference between killing a boss and dying horribly and killing your key. Mad Queen's Mandate is arguably our best trinket all around. It is a 2-minute on-use execute trinket. It does more damage the more health the enemy has missing. I'm using it as a champion piece right now, and it is absolutely doing work. If it crits, which we can manipulate its crit chance because of our bullseye stacks and also because of True Shot, so you can almost guarantee this thing to crit, and it does mad damage. In fact, my highest crit so far has been 17.2 million. And then the last couple of items, one of those is a very rare item from Queen Ansurek herself, but even on LFR, it beats almost all non-mythic track rings. It's seriously that good, which is Seal of the Poison Pack. And then the last all-around good trinket, and the personal one that I'm using for Mythic Plus, is going to be the Empowering Crystal of Anubakaj, which comes from the Dawnbreaker Mythic Plus or from your vault. And finally, this last section is going to be the macros and weak auras that I use. So I don't use too many crazy macros, and I'm going to kind of show you guys these a little bit differently than I have in the past. And also, by the way, all the weak auras and macros will be found on one single text file over in my Discord. You guys can freely download those and then just copy paste them into your game. But the macros that I'm using, for example, like on Exhilaration, on Feign Death, on Disengage, basically they're stop casting macros. It's written on there twice, so it'll also stop casting whatever you're currently casting and turn off your auto shot, or stop casting the auto shot. It's basically on abilities that you need to happen right away. Feign Death in particular, Exhilaration in particular. And then some of those other abilities too are going to be like, macros are going to be on multi-shot, on aim shot, and then on what was the other one? Arcane Shot. Basically, if I'm channeling rapid fire and I hit one of these buttons, I don't want it to interrupt my rapid fire, because then I wouldn't get my In the Rhythm haste buff. So that's important to not interrupt. And then looking at my weak auras. So these are one of the most popular things, and honestly, other than my Mog, one of the biggest questions I get on my channel is, where do you get those weak auras, particularly the health bar and focus bar in the middle of my screen? So these are just weak auras you can plug and chug. All of the ones over here on the left side of the screen are just buff trackers. It just was easy for me to track my buffs that way, like the remaining time of True Shot, how much time I have on my turtle before I might die, my uptime, or if I have my steady focus buff or not. It's going to be very important for this next coming rest of the tier. If I have trick shots up, for example, all of that will be found over here on the left side of my screen, and they're super easy. And if you guys do not know how to do this, I'm going to show you really fast. I am going to go ahead and export, and there's a lot of text here. This is what you're going to see on my text document over in my Discord. You're just going to copy this down. So you're just going to do like Control C, it's going to copy it. Then you're going to open up your own weak auras. You're going to hit import, and you're going to hit paste. And then it's going to paste it in. That's all you do. You want to make sure and remove the headers, though, because I'm going to have titles and headers for each one, and like lines to split up each one of them. So do keep in mind that you want to be picking whatever it says, exclamation point WA for weak aura, and then whatever the text is below that for each one of them, and you do have to do that individually. But I think that's all she wrote for me here for another Marksman Hunter guide. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out and subscribing to me here on YouTube. If you got to this part of the video, you are an absolute saint. I know these go so long, but I have so much information that I want to share with you guys, and I hope that my guides are easy to understand from a new player perspective, active or somebody who's returning to the spec for from a long time away. If that is the case and Dark Ranger did bring you back, welcome. We're so excited to have you. Hopefully they'll get these bugs fixed with Dark Ranger very soon. But from me to you, thank you guys so much for getting me over 9,000 subscribers, and we're marching ahead to 10K. So be sure and take advantage of that giveaway. I hope to get there sooner rather than later, but only you guys can help me get to 10K. So thank you guys for watching. Best of luck in the second half of Season 1 here in 11.05 and beyond. Enjoy the festivities that the 20th anniversary of WoW has in store for us, and I will see you next time.